Thank you.
It does.
Sorry.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 meeting of the Select Board. My name is Beth Cassavant. I'm the chair. We'll take a moment to just go around and introduce ourselves for people who are watching at home.
Hi, I'm Teresa Flynn.
Michelle Conlon.
John Samia.
Carlos Garcia.
Town Manager Kevin Mizikar.
Assistant to Town Manager Justin Dobson.
We're going to start with the first item on the agenda, which is to approve the bills, payrolls, and warrants.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 2 is to approve the minutes of November 28th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 3 is announcements and reports. Board members, do you have any announcements or reports this evening? Mr. Samia.
We had office hours today. We had a couple of visitors, had some great conversations, and just want to remind the public that on the first Tuesday meeting of every month from 5:30 to 6:30, we host an office hour here at Town Hall, right across from here. So appreciate the time that the residents took to come ask us questions or express their feelings or concerns generally, and it was a great conversation that Select Board Member Conlon and I had, and look forward to having other discussions in the future.
Great, thanks for doing that. Members of the public can expect to see 2 members of the Select Board at any given office hours. Otherwise, it has to be posted as a public meeting, and then that sort of defeats the purpose of a conversation that's more, you can kind of bring a concern and not have it broadcast to the entire town. As a reminder, Select Board Member Flynn and I will be at the library this Saturday from 11 to noon, holding office hours again. So if anybody's interested, we welcome you. One more announcement, standing with Shrewsbury tax relief applications are being accepted until April 1st, 2024, and they will be reviewed by the committee shortly after the deadline. Item number 4 is the town manager's report. Mr. Mizikar.
3 items for the this evening's meeting. First, happy to share that Mike Herbst, who's a special equipment operator in the Highway Division, has completed Massachusetts Qualified Tree Warden Training Course. Mike's our 3rd employee to obtain this certification, which is really helpful in managing street trees and other trees that fall under the responsibility of the town. So congratulations to Mike. Thanks for his endeavors towards that effort. The second item is, I'm also pleased to announce that we received an $80,000 grant from the Commonwealth Division of Local Services through the FY 2024 Community Compact IT Grant Program. This grant will go to further enhance the digitization of our business processes, bringing efficiency to our processes. So this will actually enable us to acquire additional software and devices to enable fully integrated electronic inspection reports. So now when we have inspectors from various departments go out in the field and review the things that they need to review, take for instance the building inspector, they have to write their notes in some physical form and then come back into our electronic system and upload them. And they'll be able to do this from a touchscreen device like an iPad or something in the field while they're out there. So it'll actually enable us to take on more inspections in a shorter amount of time because of the efficiencies it will gain. And that'll get rolled out across all departments with those inspectional services over the next few years. So we're appreciative of this continued partnership with the Commonwealth in modernizing our operations. And then finally, the town of Shrewsbury, and I just want to recognize Julie Tierney, a business systems analyst, for her work in support of the IT team in the Community Compact Grant Program. And then finally this evening, the town has been recognized by the Central Massachusetts Municipal Recycling Council for its outstanding waste reduction programs. This is the first year the town has ever been recognized for having best practices within this area. And I want to thank Gosha Stolarska, the Solid Waste Program Manager, for all of her efforts. Having Gosha in place has really continued to modernize our programs, and it's nice to see some external recognition for that work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go any further this evening, I need to do a better job of reading my own notes, but I did want to make just a brief statement on behalf of the town of Shrewsbury and the Select Board to extend our deepest sympathies to the city of Waltham and the family of Officer Paul J. Tracy. Many of you might remember that Officer Tracy was a 28-year veteran at the time of his tragic death last week in the line of duty on Wednesday, December 6th. Further, we extend our sympathy to the family of Roderick Jackson, who was a national grid worker who was also killed in the incident. And at this time, I just wanted to take a moment to pause and remember the bravery of Officer Tracy and all the first responders who made the ultimate sacrifice, and the frontline workers like Mr. Jackson to take on inherent risks in their day-to-day job responsibilities for the public good. Thank you. Item number 5 is public comment. No one has signed up for public comment this evening, but it is an opportunity for citizens to provide public comment during our meetings. If someone does want to participate through public comment, we just ask that you send an email to the Select Board office prior to, or give a call just so that we can include your name on the agenda. Item number 6 is a 7:05 p.m. public hearing. It's a meeting with the proposed new manager, Xavier Moreno, on behalf of Blazing Wings, Inc., DBA Buffalo Wild Wings, 476 Boston Turnpike, for a change of manager to their all-alcohol beverages pouring license. And are you? Yes. You are, Mr. Moreno. If you want to come up to the table, that would be great. Welcome. If you could just introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Xavier Moreno.
Okay, and we know that you're here. Just a very simple, straightforward change of manager. Is there
Yes.
anything else that you wanted to share with the board this evening?
Oh, but no. I just got transferred from a job. I'm working at Buffalo Wild Wings now. Been there at 1 year.
Great. All right, so this doesn't change anything else as far as hours or the hours of operation or anything with the business model. This is a very straightforward change. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard? I see no one.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So board members, any further questions or comments?
No.
Okay, it's a pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve the change of manager application by Blazing Wings, Inc., doing business as Buffalo Wild Wings.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, you're all set?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7 is a meeting with the Shrewsbury Fire Department for a departmental update. We'll invite you up to the table as well. Yeah, you're all set. Thank you. You don't have to stay. We'd love to have you if you want, but you're welcome to go on ahead.
It's okay.
You're all set.
Congratulations.
Yeah, take care. So I'll invite our fire chief up for a departmental update on the fire department.
Good evening, everyone. For the people at home, Jim Bona, Fire Chief for the town of Shrewsbury for the last 14 years. This year, we're getting towards the end of the year, and our emergency responses up until today are about 4,300 responses, which puts us slightly ahead of last year's pace, which was the most calls that we ever did. So we've been trending up little by little every year. We've added some personnel this past year to help offset that, and we've seen some good results with really quick knockdowns on some of the fires we've had. Recently had one down at Table Talk Pie, which was a major loss in a pie oven, 60 by 20 pie oven, very expensive, like $1 million piece of equipment that was damaged. But we were able to knock down the fire fairly quickly. There was another fire down on Fifth Ave, which is right down on Lake Quinsigamon. And again, it was another quick knockdown, and having that extra person on the truck really it just makes the team work. And, the routine that we have to go through to set up and put out a fire go so much faster. So we're seeing pretty good results with that. We currently have one firefighter out. He was injured in the line of duty. He slipped and fell on the roof of a house back in June and fell on his shoulder. The siding had kind of fallen down onto the roof, and it was at night. You couldn't see very well. He stepped on the wet siding from hoses, He fell. Fortunately, one of the firefighters was close by, grabbed onto him, so he didn't slide off the roof, but he ended up hurting his shoulder and having to have shoulder surgery. So we're hoping he gets back sometime soon after the first of the year, but he's been out about 6 months now. We've got 4 of our newer firefighters in EMT training right now, and the department just did a full EMT refresher class for all the firefighters that have their EMT certification. We just completed also a driver training class for everyone in the department, and our operations manager, mechanic Joe Milos, is certified and teaches, and he also trains the ambulance crews for Worcester EMS that work in town with us too. So we did get an appropriation to have some paint work done on Tower 1, which is our ladder truck, to repair some rust and corrosion that was happening. That vehicle's actually due back tomorrow, and then just after the first of the year, that same money has been set aside to do some work on our engine 3 that needs some body repairs as well. Some of the other training and updates we're doing, as you know, in town with the new police station. We had all new radios throughout the town, and SCBA that new SCBA that we got about 4 or 5 years ago have Bluetooth in them, so that basically you can hear on the radios much clearer, and we had to readjust to all the new equipment, so that also takes a bit of training. And operations manager Milos did all that programming and all that training for all the guys. We have one group left to do on Friday, and all the Bluetooth will be integrated with our air packs and SCBA. So that's a good piece of technology, especially for young guys like you, Carlos.
And young people like me, Chief?
Sorry, I was Justin too. I'm the oldest of all. So. Coming up next week, we have medical screening for firefighters. Basically, it's like ultrasound and a bunch of other tests. Almost 2 years ago, Kevin went to Senator Moore and got us an earmark for $25,000. Unfortunately, the company that we originally got a contract with was not willing to travel up to Massachusetts after COVID. They had lost a whole bunch of personnel, and they didn't have the people to do it. So we finally found a new company, and December 18th, 19th, 20th, they're doing full body scans of all the firefighter personnel, and just about everybody in the department signed up for that. And Senator Moore is going to stop by on the 19th, and we're going to give him a thank you for that. And there was also a little bit of money that was appropriated from town meeting, and so we appreciate the money from town meeting, and also the work that Senator Moore and town manager did to get the money to pay for that. So we have the Community Connect project going on, but I'll leave that to the deputy chief to speak on, since he spearheaded and pretty much did most, if not all, of the work on that project. So I don't want to take the credit for it. We will be starting a departmental and community survey, because one of the goals that we have for this year is to update a 5-year strategic plan for the department. So we'll have more news on that, but we need to get feedback from the community. We're basically getting feedback from our offices are working with the firefighters to get as much information as we can, so that we can all take all that information, put it together, and put the best plan together, not only for the fire department, but to protect the community as well. So, and that's it. That is my update. So,
Great update. Appreciate it.
anyone have any questions?
Yeah, questions, comments?
comments.
All right.
Just thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
The great work.
Okay, under new business, item number 8 is to review and act to approve and sign the Certified Emergency Management Plan and the Hazardous Materials Emergency Management Plan. So I'll ask Deputy Fire Chief Seth Colby to join us for that and walk us through the plan. It's very detailed. When I sat down to go through it, I wasn't expecting it to be quite so many pages. But it's
It is a lot.
thought of everything.
It is a lot. Thank you. I'm Seth Colby, the Deputy Fire Chief here in Shrewsbury, as well as the Emergency Management Director. So I'd like to thank the Select Board for taking the time to review and approve the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. The SEMP and all of its annexes and related documents are over 300 pages. As you mentioned, it's a lot. So I know it was no small task to go through it, and I appreciate it. Thanks to your review ahead of tonight's meeting, we were able to make updates and corrections, and they're in the current plan, and Justin uploaded them back on. So no procedural changes, but we updated some of that information in the comments that had come back. Emergency management is not just police and fire. That's what everybody thinks of, right, when there's an emergency. But it encompasses almost all of the town departments as well as our local officials. The SEMP is a whole community approach to emergency management. It considers all stakeholders, including government, residents, businesses, and other organizations such as volunteer organizations, non-governmental agencies, as well as church groups and other groups within the community. All hazard preparedness includes mitigation, response, short-term and long-term recovery. Mitigation includes resiliency and hardening of our infrastructure to reduce the effects of a disaster, whether it be natural disaster, man-made disaster, or some kind of a tragic event. DPW, engineering, planning department, CELCO, they work every day on this and do a fantastic job with improving our infrastructure, getting us ready so that we minimize the reduces from heavy rains and flooding, storms with the power lines, and cutting back the trees, getting power lines underground to reduce the effect. So all these departments do a fantastic job on a daily basis. And you don't normally think of it as emergency management, but that in fact is what it is. It's mitigation ahead of an emergency, ahead of a disaster, to lessen the effects. Also, our elected officials, right, who set policies that will make our community more resilient in the future. Then response can be everybody, right, depending on what the emergency is, what the disaster is. Again, everybody thinks of police and fire right away, but it could be the IT department if we had a cyber attack. Certainly CELCO, DPW during blizzards, right, keeping the roads closed, keeping the lights on so people have heat in their homes. One thing that we saw during COVID is that every department stepped up and did something that they never expected they would be doing. Whether it be delivering food to people that couldn't leave their homes because of their medical conditions, that they couldn't be exposed. A lot of places did testing and vaccine sites. Every department stepped up. Public facilities did all kinds of, took all kinds of actions to protect employees and the public when they came in and be able to open both the municipal buildings as well as the schools. So response, it can involve everybody. And then you look at short-term and long-term recovery. And again, it's a whole community approach. So when you start looking at recovery, especially long-term, then that's when you reach out to the members of the community and you have their input on what they want the community to look like as we rebuild. If you could. So the purpose of the SEMP, I think you're one ahead, yeah. The purpose of the SEMP is to formulate policies designed to protect life and property, provides guidance and strategic thinking for decision-making. It assigns department or agency roles and responsibility to mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from incidents, and identifies lines of authority and community policy. Again, it's a whole community approach to emergency management. And it provides guidelines for how various stakeholders will interact with each other and what their areas of responsibility are. Okay, the SEMP includes threat and hazard and vulnerability analysis. Depending on where you are in the country is going to be what your major threats are. For us, we typically look at blizzards, hurricanes, localized flooding are some of our major threats that we consider on a regular basis. Critical facilities and infrastructure. The SEMP calls out things such as the skilled nursing facilities that are in town, assisted living facilities, power, water, gas, other utilities. That's all listed and addressed in the SEMP. It takes a look at direction, control, and coordination, right? Again, coordination between departments and other agencies. It also talks about how we get mutual aid, how we get assistance when the scope of the emergency has gone beyond what our local resources can handle. So there's a statewide mobilization plan. So we use it all the time. We use mutual aid agreements all the time with the fire department, with Northborough and Westborough, Boylston, Grafton. We routinely go back and forth and help each other on a regular basis. Police does it with bordering communities. But there's actually a statewide mutual aid agreement that DPW, all the departments can go to another community, or other communities can come in and assist us, and it's all covered by that agreement. And then if we go beyond local mutual aid, talks about how we reach out to the state and they get state resources, and then if they need to, coordinate with federal assets, which hopefully we never have to bring federal assets in for an emergency. Talk about organization and assignments and responsibilities. Thing to remember with that is it doesn't override the day-to-day operations of a department. It doesn't override their standard operating procedures and policies and guidelines. But what it does do is it calls out who's responsible for what actions and what part of the response. Emergency Operations Center, some of you have probably heard that recently because the new police station has become our primary EOC. It used to be this room. With the new police station, we decided it was more appropriate to have the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, located there. As part of the design, it was set up so that we have phone lines in their training room. We have the ability to bring radio, I'll call it for lack of a better term, radio console in, handsets in to put in there. We've also, as that part of that process, we've worked with IT to get those phone lines, those specific extensions, mirrored into the fire headquarters training room, because that's our secondary EOC. So if something were to happen to the police, if that was, a police station was involved in the incident or it couldn't be used, we can go there, and all the phone lines are mirrored there. It's just a matter of taking the phones out of the closet, plugging them in, and we can do that. And then this room, Town Hall, would become our tertiary EOC of both of those locations. One of the reasons why we kind of took this room out of play for that and used the police station and the fire station is they're more remote to each other. Whereas having this in the police station on the same campus, it didn't make sense to have one the primary and one the backup. It takes a look at information collection, analysis, and dissemination. Right? What are some different sources of information that we get? Information is the biggest thing that we need in an emergency. That just drives our priorities and how we're going to respond. The Public Information Officer plays a huge role in that, not just in disseminating information out to the public, but also getting information back. They can monitor social media and websites and the radio and news stations and get situational awareness that way. And that helps us formulate a response and a plan, and it also helps us to get one consistent message that would go out to the community. Communications, I already mentioned, right? Phone, radio, website, social media, Code Red, right? That's our emergency notification system that we use here in Shrewsbury. We also have the ability to reach out to MEMA, and we could have them put out a WEA, a wireless emergency alert. Some of you may have, they test them every now and then, not very often, but every now and then they'll do a test. The beauty of that is unlike Code Red, where they have to subscribe to it and give us their contact information if they want to opt into it, with a WIA, we basically take a map and say, anybody within the boundaries of whatever that we draw on the map, any cell phone that's within that boundary would get an alert, and that message would be delivered. So in a true emergency, if we had a hazmat, had to evacuate an area or something, that would reach everybody, as opposed to just people that opted in for those alerts. And then record keeping, right, administration, finance, and logistics, all the record keeping, damage assessments, that part is huge, right? It's not the glorious part of, going out and saving people and getting your picture on the front page of the newspaper, but that's equally as important. And again, that's where we bring in other departments, accounting and so on. They keep track of everything we spend. And then if a declaration disaster is declared, we're able to submit for, if the thresholds are met after the declaration is done, right? There's certain damage thresholds that have to be met. But if those are met, then we could become eligible for, typically it's 75% reimbursement. It's a 25-75 match. Sometimes with the COVID actually was an example where it started as a 25-75, so the federal government paid 75% of our, what we claimed for expense, and we picked up to 25%, and then they actually changed it and they made it 100% reimbursement across the board. So the federal government does have the ability to adjust those percentages, but it's typically a 25-75. But without proper documentation, record keeping, receipts, documenting the disaster. So when we have a storm, we'll ask the DPW crews that are out on the road, if you can snap a picture before you clear that tree that's just blocked the road, or before you clear the power lines. That way we have documentation that these incidents did occur, we can justify our expenses. Okay, next. Additional documentation and annexes that are in the SEMP. It discusses training and exercise programs, plan development and maintenance. There's a whole section in there, an annex on Emergency Operations Center, and again, each role and responsibility and what they are. Basically, it's a checklist so that they know. We're very fortunate here, and I don't want to, not superstitious, but I don't want to jinx us. I don't know the last time we fully opened the EOC. I think the last time it was fully open was actually for the new millennium in 2000. We've had partial activations. We've set it up because we have what's referred to as a cold EOC, where phones, radios, and that kind of stuff has to get set up. It's not a dedicated room that's only ever used as an EOC, which is typical of what most communities would have. So we've done partial activations where we'll get it set up, and maybe a couple of staff are there in a monitoring situation, whereas if the storm or the situation gets bad, we can quickly bring in the other people that we need, and we're ready to hit the ground running. But it's been a long time since we've had to do it. So having those check sheets that each person can get when they walk in the door and say, this is your responsibility, make sure you've covered these things, is super helpful. And then there's a critical infrastructure sheet. There's a spreadsheet that lists all the schools, the nursing facilities and care facilities, critical infrastructure, dams, bridges, that type of stuff, public buildings. We have, the town has, I don't know the number off the top of my head, a lot more generators than you would think. They have a ton of emergency generators because they have them on all the sewer pump stations, all the public buildings, the schools, and that's a huge number. And that's, when you start talking about pump stations and stuff, that's critical infrastructure that has to stay working. Nobody wants the sewer not working. So all that stuff is called out in that spreadsheet, so it gives us guidance and things to check on in an emergency and make sure we're covering all that. It also includes a hazardous materials emergency plan, the HEMP, which is by far the largest document of all of this. And it's honestly, that particular one is more of a boilerplate that we fill in our local stuff into it. And there is, it looks like a lot of repetition, and it kind of is in some cases, but a lot of the facilities are listed in there multiple times because they're considered for different different hazards and so on, which is why there's so much repetition in there. But that's all in there. So, why we're here tonight? Looking to get approval and implementation for this plan. So, to the best of my knowledge, from what I have from documentation, the last time this plan was officially adopted and signed off by the Select Board, which was then the Board of Selectmen, was 2001. So it's been about 22 years since this plan has been formally signed off, or an updated plan has been formally signed off. And that was actually a 3-ring binder that's about this thick, and it's all just printed. Nothing was digital, as it was 20 years ago. So, and honestly, that's not uncommon throughout the Commonwealth. That's pretty common to have a lot of old plans. Not to say that plans haven't been updated, but the master, I'll call it the master plan, hadn't been, right? All the departments have up-to-date plans, but that overall plan hadn't been formally adopted in that amount of time. So if it's approved, or when it's approved by the Select Board, that would become the new plan, supersede anything that was previously on the books. With that said, things change all the time, so we need the ability to be able to update this plan. Biggest thing would be contact information and maybe the layout of the plan, not the actual procedure that's called out in the plan. So what we would do and what would be typical of a plan of this type would be that certain people have the ability to update those contacts and format. And that would be the fire chief, police chief, town manager, and the local emergency planning committee coordinator. And again, that's something that would need to be done at minimum on an annual basis, where we pull it out and make sure we have the correct contacts. As people retire, get promoted, and so on, things change. There's also a lot of information in there for private businesses and private industry, right? We have an event here and the DPW needs another front-end loader. Where are they gonna get that? Well, that's all in the plan. But businesses change, numbers change, so all that kind of stuff should be updated on an annual basis. But by doing it this way, we don't need to come back and formally have you sign off on name and phone number changes. So that's typically how that would be done. Taylor has graciously volunteered to upload this into Google Drive, which could cause formatting things, but she's volunteered to go through and straighten out any formatting issues with that. So once the plan is approved, she'll upload it in there. And the nice part of that is everybody that needs access to it can have access to it, and it's all in one location. We don't have multiple versions of it floating around. And then those individuals that are listed here would have edit capabilities to be able to go in and update it and make those changes as they come down the line. It's also uploaded into WebEOC, which is a web-based platform, which is really an interface between the local community, in our case Shrewsbury, and the state at MEMA. And that's how we get a lot of situational awareness. That's how we can request information, resources through the state, is we just put a request in through that, and then they'll be able to fill our request. That's also how other communities can fill requests from us. So for example, when Leominster had all that rain and flooding a couple months ago, MEMA reached out to us because they saw on the equipment list that we have the signboards, a couple of those, the signboards for the road. So they reached out to us, and then I reached out to Nick, and he got somebody out of bed, and they grabbed the sign trailer and brought it up to Leominster. But that's how the whole system is designed to work, is it goes through MEMA kind of as a clearinghouse. You request your resources, they find them, and get them out to the local communities. So that's pretty much, if you add one more, yeah. That's pretty much it on the SEMP. As far as what's going on next, I talked about the Emergency Operations Center. We actually have a training that just got set up the end of last week. that MEMA is gonna come in and provide a training for the town staff on January 30th. And that's gonna be EOC operations and interface. And then we're gonna follow that up in the spring, hopefully April or May. We don't have a date yet for that. But MEMA's training division will come back again, and they'll have a scenario, something that could happen in town, and we'll actually open up the EOC, and they'll have injects where they'll tell you, okay, now this has just happened, now this just happened, and it'll have to go to highway, police, maybe the PIO has to address it, maybe it has to go to the town meeting, or to the select board to make a decision. Maybe you'll have to make a declaration of, emergency declaration, or an evacuation order. So that's the plan with that. Again, don't have the date for the exercise, but the training component will be January 30th. And we'll extend a formal invitation to you, a calendar invite, and anyone on the board that is able to attend would be welcome to attend and would be greatly appreciated to be able to come and join us. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the EMPG, that's the Emergency Management Performance Grant. That's federal money that funnels down through the state, through MEMA, to the local communities. I just submitted the grant yesterday. We'll get it. It's a guarantee. Like, they may kick something back that we need to adjust, but it's not a competitive grant. It's based on population. So this year we're going to use that funding for ASHA equipment, for some of the protective gear, as well as the EMS equipment for that. And that's kind of leading up to the ASHA training that's going to be done with police and fire together, that I believe Chief Anderson had gotten funding through ARPA funding a while back. So as a result, the Lieutenant Towner has been working with the police and putting together the training and getting that all ready to go. And this was the equipment list that came out as our deficiencies. So we're going to be able to fund that through the grant, as well as 10 iPads for the fire department. We have iPads now in all the apparatus. We use them. All our dispatches go out through there with the address and information. All of our pre-plans for buildings in town are in there. We use those iPads for all of our inspections that we do. So they get a lot of use. The ones we have now are all end of life. We've used them so long they've stopped taking the iOS updates, which means it's only probably a matter of weeks before they'll stop being able to update the apps that we use, and then they become boat anchors, basically. So that's in the works, but we'll be able to fund those fully through the grant. So that's all I have for you.
Wow. I just find this so interesting. So thank you very much for a very robust presentation and all the work that you put into updating the SEMP. Just a question for you. Like, I'm assuming you had to go through some sort of training to know how to craft a plan like this.
So a lot of it, Lieutenant Mike Borwick on the fire department, he actually did a lot of as you can imagine, it was a lot of work. And that's actually where some of the revisions and the feedback that we received after the weekend was because things actually changed. Like, one of them was the Montessori school on Prospect Street. When the plan, because it was such a massive undertaking to take it from a paper format and put it into an electronic format, I think when the process started, that school didn't exist. It was still Mount Olivet Church. So that was a great catch, and we were able to update it, which was perfect. But yeah, it was a big undertaking, but I cannot take the credit for the heavy lift.
Okay, great. Any questions from board members? Go ahead, Mr. Samia.
Thanks for the presentation and the depth of the plan. Hopefully, we don't have to use them. But part of what it had in here is that an incident will really measure the effectiveness of the plan. In many instances, that's how you're going to find and do post-mortem and understand how the controls worked and how the communication worked. How, in the absence of incidents, going forward, will we be able to, how do we look at the effectiveness of the plans in the absence of incidents to measure how we did in that? How do we do that, and how often would that be done?
So we try to do twice a year. We try to do a drill or tabletop exercise. Sometimes we flush out deficiencies at that point. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was on the podcast with the town manager, and the example that I used there was we had done a tabletop exercise on a cyber attack against the water distribution system. And one of the deficiencies that we found, and we had invited our local coordinator from MEMA had come, and so we asked him, we said, if our drinking water was contaminated and we had no water supply in town, could we, through MEMA, could we get, you see all the time FEMA water, right, on all these big disasters? And basically the answer was, well, yes, we could get water, but it's only in a couple strategic caches throughout the country, one of which is not New England, is not near us. So it's going to take potentially days because they have to hire a trucking company and ship it up. And then because it's not a disaster declaration, we'd have to pay for the shipping and pay for the water and all that. So we went out and established an account with Polar Beverages, who's right next door, and said they have enough water in their Worcester facility to be able to fill a 53-foot trailer up right away and drive it to us. So we'd be able to get it at half the price and probably 10 times faster than if we tried to go through FEMA or some other avenue. So, I mean, that's the best way, short of having a disaster, which hopefully we don't have, is to just do tabletop exercises and try to find those deficiencies. And that's one of the great things of having all the departments involved, is you get questions, you get insight and stuff from other people that are outside. When you only have a couple of people that are looking at the plan and don't share it with anybody, that kind of, you get tunnel vision and you think it's a great plan until somebody else puts a set of eyes on it. It's like, oh, well, what about this? And it's like, oh, we've been working on this thing for 6 months and never even thought of that. So the more people that are involved, for sure, the better.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Great.
I have a question. When it comes to code red alerts, do you have an idea of how many people in the community are subscribed to code red?
I don't know if
I don't know off the top of my head.
Taylor could probably tell you off the top. I can certainly look it up and get back to you.
I'd be curious if it would be helpful to have sort of like pushes to get people to subscribe. We could put it in our quarterly newsletter that goes out to every household in the community, and then having like a pop-up event at the senior center. If there's an event happening at the senior center where there's going to be a lot of people attending, having somebody, a few people go and just help people subscribe to it and make sure that they're connected so that they have the updated information if there was an emergency.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think the other number to look at too, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but we can look at it as the people pushing the messages out and see how many were actually delivered, right? Because it's all well and good to say it called, based on this area, it called 400 people, but how many of those messages actually made it to somebody? I know some of the communities around us that also use code red had run into an issue where, we're only getting 15% delivery rate. And they started looking into it, and they were asking what our rate was and this and that. And there was a couple things. One is they had to slow down the number of calls per minute, because the more calls it does, the less times it lets it ring. Right? So if you say you want it to do 500, 100 calls a minute, it's only going to ring X number of times. If you say, cut that number in half, it's going to ring longer, giving them more of an opportunity to get a live answer as opposed to just hanging up. And then the other thing that some of the communities were finding was that it had number that didn't show was local. So it wasn't showing as the town of Shrewsbury or Westboro was calling it. It just, so people weren't answering it because they were thinking it was a spam call or something of that. So I think you have to look at both numbers, but absolutely, I think that would be great to do a push, especially now before the winter. And honestly, it gets used a lot for, you know, water main breaks and all that kind of stuff is where it really gets used a lot. So I think that, and I'll put in a plug, I'll put in a plug for Community Connect, because Chief Ona brought it up. Again, that, I can't take, he gave me all the credit, but I can't take credit for that. That was actually Lieutenant Towner who did all the heavy lifting on that. I did, you know, work with him, and he ran stuff by me, but he did the heavy lifting, and he's the one that got that set up with First Due, which is our record management system and our software that we use. But Community Connect, I know some of you are actually signed up. I've seen that some of you signed up for it, which is great. That's a way that anybody in the community, both residential as well as the business community, businesses can sign up as well. And they can log in, and with just their email, they put in whatever password they want, they can create an account, and they can put all kinds of great information in for their home or for their business. And they can put how many people live there, if they have kids, if they have pets. They can put in if there's any disabled people that may need help to get out. They can put in where emergency shutoffs are for the utilities. They can put in if there's lock boxes, they can put that information in, and nobody can see that information except for the firefighters. So if you have somebody that maybe isn't able to, you know, an elderly parent or somebody that's not able to come to the door, and they have a key box on there, they could put that combination and that code in, so that if they needed an ambulance or they needed help, we could go and we would have all that information there. So it's super helpful. It's great information that helps us to help the residents. So I think both of those programs are great to try to get out to as many people in the community as we can.
That's fantastic. These reports that you've put together they're fascinating. I think it's so interesting, the logistics of, you know, just all of the nuances of any situation. But this is incredible work, and really appreciate everything you guys have done. It's a several-year process to update these, right?
Well, the good news is now it's all electronic. Mm-hmm. So this was the initial taking it from paper and getting it, and that's why it took so long. There's actually been, I had mentioned earlier, it was 2001 was the last time it was formally adopted by the select board. I remember seeing an article, a news article a while back on the Daily Digest, which basically it sends you emails to all the fire and emergency articles in New England. Well, specifically in Massachusetts, and then there's another one for the area. But I remember a while back seeing one for a Massachusetts community that had applied for a grant to be able to hire somebody to write their SEMP form, because it's such an undertaking, mm-hmm. and to try to do it with town staff around all their other assignments. And that's why this became a multi-year thing, because you know, Mike was working on it in between, and other people, you know, I say Mike put it all together, but he needed to get parts from DPW, from police, from all the other departments. So it was a massive undertaking to do over and around all of his other duties. Oh, and the one that was looking for the grant, it was the same thing. It was over 20 years since it had been updated. So that's why I say it's not an uncommon, yeah, we weren't alone in that.
Not that we weren't prepared, just
Correct.
the plan wasn't updated.
Correct, it was just,
right. Because you saw during COVID, and I mean, you talked about this on Town Manager Download, just the way in which the emergency preparedness plans did work. But to have it, sort of the process written down, will help everybody be better prepared. I did have a question for you. There's a document called the Resource Manual in here, and I was just wondering, why does it include landlines and not cell phones?
That's a good question.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that and add, if we can add another column, we can add cell phones.
Yeah, just thinking that sometimes people aren't at their desk or.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah.
answer the phone. A cell phone might be just another way to get in touch with someone.
Yep, for sure. And we can use, for bringing in, on the town staff side of it, we can use Code Red as well and send it out to, which we've done before. We can send out the EOC is open, or I know the manager's office has used it before when there's storms to give guidance if town hall's open or not. So we do have other ways, but yeah, it should have, we should address that and add both landline and cell phone.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking about people who have heard about Community Connect or the Code Red, I know Code Red you can sign up for on the town website. How about Community Connect? Is that on the fire website, or where would that?
It is, yep, and there's a link, and we've sent it out, it's been on our Facebook as well. So if you were to look back on that, a few posts, they should be able to find that. But yeah, there's a QR code right on the fire department website, so you could do it either by the link on there, or you could do it with the QR code in your phone. It will take you right into Community Connect. Like I said, it's super easy. I know some of you have done it, so.
Right, because you have pictures of my dogs and my birds and my kids and all my information. Yeah, I put everything in there.
Yeah, you can put pictures, you don't have to, you can, yeah, it's whatever you'd like to share, within reason, you know.
House will be on fire. You'll be out there scrolling through all of my information that I gave you. But no, I really do think it was so easy. But again, you talk about people with a disability, and I think that making sure that our first responders are aware that there's someone in the house who might need that extra bit of attention or care in an emergency situation is so valuable.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, they can pull it right up on the iPad while they're responding there, and they can pull up the address, and if somebody's filled out Community Connect, they know, oh, there's 2 children under 5 in the house, and their bedroom is upstairs on the right hand side, and they know right where they're going, so they're not, they're already preparing before they get there and not wasting time trying to figure it out.
That's great. Anybody else?
Did have a
Mr.
quick-
Garcia?
Thank you. Had a quick question. You know, there's a growing number of folks in town who English is not their first language, so just if you could touch on how we communicate out, or the plan to communicate out things in other languages. What does that look like? What does that entail?
To be honest, it's something we probably need to expand upon. There is, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, there is a service that we can use to translate a message and send it out over the phone. But that is something I think we need to expand on. I know with the Department of Fire Services with the state, they have a lot of the messages, like canned messages that are in 20-something different languages. If we really needed to get messages out, like unique messaging out in an emergency, we would probably be leaning on the school department and some of their staff to assist us with doing that, because that is certainly a concern.
Thank you. Because I know some of those translation services, you know, it doesn't get the full picture of what you're trying to say. So, but appreciate that, and thank you for all
We
your
have a
work.
great relationship with the school department. I know some towns it's the school department and the municipal side are like, you know, trying to get more from each other or whatever, but I think in Shrewsbury we have a great relationship, and the school department actually does, they have a couple of emergency drills that they do, and tabletop exercises, and a lot of the town staff go to those drills, and they do a great job with that. We did a tri-town, actually it was 4 towns, Southborough, Westborough, Northborough, and Shrewsbury. We did an exercise with MEMA last year, and the school department came with us to that and offered a lot of great insight. If the Oak Middle School is our primary shelter location, so we would use them for that. They said that during the school year they have food in their freezers and everything, and that we can utilize their cafeteria services and staff and their food to be able to feed shelter, or if we had an extended operation at the EOC and needed to bring in food. So we have a great relationship between the municipal and school side, and and that extends into the emergency management as well. So as far as communicating out, and they have a lot of great communication lines already set up to anybody with school-age families.
Right.
They've already got all their listservs and everything, and you know, they'll push messages out for us and do that as well.
Okay. Thank you. That collaboration is key, so that's great that you touched
Oh,
on it.
it's fantastic.
Mr. Musakar has a number of people signed up for Code Red.
Yeah, so our emergency contact database currently has 32,000 points of contact within it. So pretty extensive. And we do, I'd say at least once a year, do that outreach to folks through various means, but it's something that we need to do regularly. And folks often do ask to be removed from the list if they've moved from town. So I'd say it's good. And we do monitor that call effectiveness, as the deputy chief had mentioned, because we get live statistics. If you hit launch, you're watching right then and there. The system's telling you reach, didn't reach, attempting, does several attempts. So
All right, so we're gonna need to take a vote here to approve and sign the Certified Emergency Management Plan and Hazardous Material Emergency Management Plan.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're all set.
Great.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for all the work that went, into getting you to this point.
Well, thank you all for your time and reading through it all.
Well, I'm looking forward to January 30th. That sounds like an experience.
Yeah, we'll get the invites out to
Yeah.
all of you.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9 is to review and act on the 2024 license renewals to include the following license types: alcohol, common victual, entertainment, Sunday and weekday, bowling alleys, billiard tables, automatic amusements, auto dealers, livery, auction, auctioneer, Lord's Day, seasonal dancing, and donation bins. So of the list, which is attached to the agenda, you'll see 4 are not being renewed and 5 are outstanding for their on-premise alcohol pouring license, and they have until the 15th of December to get the inspection that they need taken care of, so that we might possibly be able to approve those licenses at our next meeting, which is next Tuesday, because we're on sort of like a holiday schedule. So while we're looking through this, I do want to just thank Mr. Dobson for the work that he did getting all of these licenses in order, because it's quite a list, and I know you have to do quite a bit of outreach to make sure that it's ready for all of us. Are there any questions? So I just have one. So when this comes up every year, we always talk about the Class 1 and Class 2 auto dealers, and there are certain auto dealers that don't always comply with the terms of their license as it's relates to the number of vehicles on site and where they're parking the vehicles on residential streets. So I was just wondering if any outreach was done to make sure that businesses are complying with the license.
Yeah. So outreach has been conducted relative to that, and a part of our transition this year has been getting our licensing procedure into the town's citizen services platform, OpenGov, that Julie did a presentation on several weeks ago. As part of that new workflow, we've added a question specifically targeted to that issue, that the applicant is certifying under the pains and penalties of perjury that they've reviewed their site plan and that their site conditions are in compliance with it. So if we ever had to go to an enforcement matter and escalate it to enforcing for over storage of vehicles or parking them in improper places, we can point to that certification as another tool in our toolkit for enforcing against that. So.
And I just am reviewing now the update to the summary sheet that says it's actually 4 that are not being renewed. So I guess one of them was taken care of. Yes. Or something like that. The other question I had to you was about donation bins.
Mm-hmm.
So I know those are tricky. They tend to pop up without the owners of the bins going through the process required by the board to have their bins permitted. So I know that there's definitely more donation bins in existence than what's permitted and what's listed for us. So I do appreciate, I know that I will sometimes be like, Justin, I found one over here, and you'll
Yeah.
go like do the detective work to try to bring it into compliance. And it's not the bin, right? It's the fact that there's dumping that goes on outside of the bin, and that's not necessarily the fault of the person who owns the bin, but at the end of the day, it really is. We need somebody that we can contact. So I just was wondering how we're doing process-wise in trying to bring our donation bins into compliance as well.
There's been about 4 in town that were either reported by Madam Chair or by other residents. And we have reached out to the bin operators and property owners, and this was coinciding with the renewal process. So late October, early November. One has submitted an application. We're just going through reviewing their site plan with them to make sure that it's in the correct location. So that should be coming before the board in the near future. 2 haven't been responsive, and will follow through with engaging with the property owners. The bylaw, the way it's worded, puts the onus on the property owner where the bins are located in terms of coming into compliance. And then the 4th one was at a location, and after reaching out to the property owner, the bins were placed there without the property owner's permission. So that's been a challenge for them. They've had to pay money to have those removed a couple of times, and they've asked our office for guidance. I've been in communication with them and told them to certainly file police reports if that continues to occur, because it's essentially somebody dumping things onto your property without your permission, and they've been appreciative of that, and we'll do that if it continues. So 2 brought into compliance, 2 we're working on.
All
still.
right, thank you.
Yes,
Much
you're welcome.
appreciated. Any other questions? All right. It's the pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve the 2024 license renewals as outlined in the list attached to our agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Item number 10 is to review and act to authorize the town manager to sign deeds and related documents for the sale of 25 Harvard Avenue. You might remember that this was a parcel of land that was part of the annual town meeting in 2022, where town meeting members voted to transfer this property from tax title to the select board for disposal. Abutters were notified and no offers came in. And then recently an abutter had approached the town and expressed an interest in the property. So the process was restarted, all abutters were notified again, and an offer was received. This is a non-buildable parcel. And we just need to authorize the town manager to sign the deeds, and then the property will be disposed of in accordance with the decision made at town meeting. Is there anything more you'd like to add?
Just a note that the value is equal to the assessed value of the property, which is $21,811. And it will be restricted to prevent any process from occurring that would allow a lot that would be buildable at the time of closing through covenants on the deed.
Any questions? All right.
Motion to authorize the town manager to sign deeds and related documents for the sale of 25 Harvard Avenue.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 11 is what we wait for all year. It's to review and act to, on the matter of the one free bag for the Pay It program from Tuesday, December 26, 2023 to Saturday, December 30th, 2023. So this is your one opportunity to put out a bag of trash that is in just whatever trash bag you like to use. It's a way to get rid of the things that are difficult to get rid of around this time of year, packaging and such. And it does say on our summary sheet for anybody that is curious, what the cost would be to the town. But again, it's a 35-gallon trash bag placed at the curb on your collection day, and just to keep in mind that there will be a 1-day delay. So you don't want to miss the free bag. I know that I make sure I'm around for it. So
And standard kitchen-sized trash bag is usually 17 gallons.
35 gallons is the
So-
black bag.
Yeah, so it's the big.
Yes, it is the
big
big
bag.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's quite exciting. Such a treat. All right. Questions?
Kind to the workers that have to lift those bags.
It still should be, the weight limit of 20 pounds. Like, let's not get out of control.
All right, motion to approve the one free bag program from Tuesday, December 26, 2023 to Saturday, December 30th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 12 is to review an act to allow plowing and de-icing of specified private streets in the town of Shrewsbury. There is a list of private streets in town. The streets get plowed so that emergency vehicles can reach the homes if that is necessary. At this time of year, I always like to disclose that I live on a private street.
And I also would like to disclose I live on another private street in this list.
So, if there's any questions? Okay. We'll take a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 13 is to review an act on winter maintenance of unaccepted subdivision streets to be plowed by developers pursuant to Select Board Policy 16. This is routine we do yearly.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 14 is to review and act on the Select Board meeting schedule for January through June 2024. So you have that proposed schedule in your meeting minutes, or in your meeting packet, excuse me. So you can just take a look through those dates. The one I notice is, I think we may both have a problem the second meeting in May. So we both have seniors.
Oh.
I know. So just to be aware, that May 28th meeting, I think Select Board Member Flynn and I will be crying somewhere,
Yeah.
at, like Mechanics Hall or something, I
right.
think, for like pre-graduation activities. So we want to make sure that we have a quorum for that meeting. Okay.
Move approval of the
Second.
proposed meeting dates.
All those
Sorry,
in
second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 15 is to review an act to authorize the chair to sign the Green Communities Annual Report Summary for FY '23.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 16 is to review an act to amend Select Board Policy 15, response to emails. So there are several versions in your packet. We want to take a look at the redlined version, which reflects work done at our most recent workshop. Take into account for board member comments. I mean, I will say we have been working on this for several months, and I think that we have tried to think through all possible scenarios to make sure that we have a streamlined process that's clear and transparent to community members when they email the select board or if they email an individual member of the board. I think at this point, we probably should try to live with it and see how it goes. We can always revisit it if we find that it isn't serving the purpose as intended. But I am interested to hear if there are any comments from other board members on this policy at this time.
No, I'm good with that.
Mr. Samia?
I think the most important comment is common sense, right? That's what we have in the policy. There is a procedure for certain types of emails, and then there's also the next level of common sense through its application. I think we need to see how it works. You can't cover every contingency. The current policy did work to an extent, but we noticed that there were holes in it, and that's what we've been working through. I do think it's as workable as we can get it. I think it will be workable, but time will tell, and we can modify as necessary. So it's been a lot of massaging, a lot of thought, but it's to be practical, quick and nimble and responsive to members of the community, particularly for certain instances of public safety or the like that require immediate feedback. Others will go through our correspondence. I think it lays it out well and covers those holes that were in the previous policy. So let's see, let it fly and see where it goes.
For people that are watching at home and maybe don't have access to the policy right now, I think that, when you email selectboard@shrewsburyma.gov, what you can expect is a response from usually Mr. Dobson, just saying that your email was received. And I can just speak, for myself as chair, right? The chair is the person who is responsible for answering most of the routine emails that come to the select board, whether it's a direct answer or finding a way to pass it on to the manager, who then passes it on to the appropriate town staff. But if it's a matter that needs to be discussed and debated by the select board, you won't get an immediate response to that. That's something that has to go on an agenda and be part of a meeting. So routine matters. If someone sends an email and they say, hey, you know, there's a pothole on my street, or there's a street light out, like those kinds of things, you're going to get a response pretty quickly, because that's the responsibility of the chair, whoever is chair, to do that on behalf of the select board. So someone who emails the select board at shrewsburyma.gov shouldn't expect to get 5 responses. They should just get the one. So, and hopefully people will take the time to read the policy once it's posted on our website, be familiar with it, so you just have a better expectation of what kind of response you'll get and when. Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr.
Just
Garcia.
want to thank, you know, my colleagues for their comments, and I know that we spent a lot of hours massaging it out, like we said, and making sure that it was a policy that we can agree on. But, you know, certainly in this day and age, folks email each other every day and expect a response very quickly. So I think that this policy really outlines a process and an expectation that residents should have when they contact us, so that they don't think that we're just not responsive, just sitting there reading it and waiting until our next meeting. You know, if it's an emergency, we'll reply right away, and then everything else will fall to correspondence. But again, appreciate my colleagues' comments, and do hope that people look at it and, you know, continue to reach out to us and take the opportunities that they can to interact with the board. We're here to serve the community, so we should be as accessible as possible to them.
Thanks for the research that you did on other communities' policies as well. That was very helpful and a jumping off point for us to kind of pick and choose what we wanted in ours. All right.
So motion to approve Select Board Policy 15 as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, that brings us to correspondence. Item number 17 is an email dated November 27th, 2023, from Assistant Town Planner Louise O'Neill regarding the notification of the comprehensive permit filing for 33 to 69 Green Street. And this is the Pulte Homes project, also known as Emerald Run. And it's just letting us know that they have filed their comprehensive permit application, which will then go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for their special permit. And then item number 18 is an email dated December 4th, 2023, from Edward Bambauer of 17 Flintlock Drive regarding the DEIB committee. Mr. Bambauer was asking whether or not the committee was formed to reflect the exact breakdown of demographics in the 2020 census. And I did respond, and I did let him know that the committee was formed to be intentionally diverse. It's a 7-member committee, and so it would have pretty much been mathematically impossible, or very close to impossible, to get it to match exactly, but that wasn't the intention. And hopefully, if Mr. Bambauer is interested in being part of the committee, he will take the opportunity to apply when the vacancies arise. Item number 19 is an email dated December 6, 2023, from Andy McIsaac, 690 Main Street, regarding heartfelt gratitude for a life-saving response. This was a great email to read. I think many of us know Mr. McIsaac, and he was just writing the Shrewsbury Police Department, Fire Department, UMass, EMS, the town manager, copied the select board just to express his gratitude. He had an emergency, a medical emergency, and was treated with the utmost respect and kindness, and he feels that he wanted to just thank people for basically saving his life, which was really great to read. We know that our first responders are top-notch, and this just proves that out. So the items number 20 through 24 are all decisions of the ZBA. One is October 30th, 2023, for Bradley A. Schweitzer for a special permit for property located at 33 Brentwood Drive. This 21 is an October 30th, 2023 decision for 115 South Quinsigamond Avenue LLC for a special permit for property located at 115 through 119 South Quinsigamond Avenue. Item number 22 is a decision for November 27th, 2023, for the Lakeway Realty LLC for a variance for property located at 689 Main Street. Item number 23 is another decision from November 27th, 2023, for MFJF LLC for 2 variances for property located at 703 to 715 Hartford Turnpike. And then lastly, item 24 is another ZBA decision from November 27th, 2023, for Kapil Langer for a variance for property located at 16 Farmington Drive. That brings us to the end of the agenda. If there's anything else to come before the board in open session, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.